This presentation is a proposal to study the differences in career decision-making and leadership self-efficacy among traditional and CTE students in a Title I suburban high school. Just to give you a little bit of background about CTE, CTE stands for Career and Technical Education. It's a program of study that prepares students for careers and additional technical training beyond secondary education. It does exist in community college in the form of associate's degrees, but is most often found in high school education. It's very popular, it's very well funded. The Carl Perkins legislation and other legislation have provided lots of opportunities for schools to expand their CTE programs over the last few years, and many students participate. Over 50% participate in some type of CTE course during their time in high school. Despite this, little academic research has been done to determine the outcomes of these programs, specifically at varying levels of participation within CTE programs. That means that students can take one semester, which would be a half credit of CTE, no CTE courses, all the way up to 3 or 4 years of CTE courses, and have a major, if you will, in a specific training area or technical area. The particular outcomes of career decision-making self-efficacy and leadership self-efficacy have been associated with career success, but have not been studied in high school students or in relation to CTE. There's a great deal of academic literature on self-efficacy in college students and in early career individuals, but there is very little study as far as how that develops in high school students and how that transition is made from high school to college. And this is related to career decision making. There's a lot of literature on career decision making, but there just isn't a lot of research that shows that progression from high school programs to college. So the problem is that while substantial money and time are spent on the development and implementation of CTE programs, it's unclear from an empirical research perspective what the specific effects of participation in these courses are. And this is a broad research problem that asks what are the outcomes related to CTE participation. But more specifically, the expectation is that participation in CTE courses leads to an improvement in student career outcomes and leadership development. However, research studies focused on high school students and programs are sparse. We're putting a lot of time and energy and money, as well as students' time, energy, and money into participation in CTE without asking exactly what it is that students are gaining from that participation and how that's related to their career success. The theoretical framework that supports this study includes 3 different theories. The first theory is Bandura's theory of self-efficacy. And what that suggests is that self-efficacy, which is kind of a confidence level related to a specific domain or task, that self-efficacy can be developed through learning mastery situations, and that would be where a participant actually tries something and is successful at it, social modeling, and that is where that same participant observes someone else completing that task or activity, and then verbal persuasion, and that's a form of coaching or mentoring that's provided during the activity. These 3 factors combined increase self-efficacy in the individual. Social cognitive career theory, suggested by Lent, Brown, and Hackett, takes Bandura's theory of self-efficacy and applies it to careers, and it suggests that career decision-making self-efficacy specifically is increased by those same tasks as they relate to careers. McCormick takes social cognitive theory a step further and suggests that leadership self-efficacy can be developed through the same types of experiences that develop other domain-specific self-efficacy. And that is related to Bandura's theory because Bandura suggests that self-efficacy transfers from domain to domain. So if I already have a high level of career decision-making self-efficacy, it is likely that I will develop or have already developed high leadership self-efficacy. So together, these suggest a relationship between CTE participation rates and increased career decision-making self-efficacy and also leadership self-efficacy. A preliminary literature review has already been conducted, and that was using the University of North Texas Library databases. And that literature review suggests that the research on the relationship between CTE participation for high school students and outcomes related to self-efficacy is limited. To find additional research that may be related to these topics, the search will be expanded to include the terms career and technical education, high school student leadership, career decision-making self-efficacy, leadership development, career and technical education outcomes, leadership self-efficacy. And these terms are combined together in the search engines to try to get at more of the literature that may relate to these topics. The databases to be used will include the University of North Texas Library System and Google Scholar. Literature will include professional research-based journals, statistics from government databases, professional books, and data from previous studies. An overview of the research methods includes the hypotheses for this study, the research variables, and the methodology. The hypotheses for this study are not directional. In other words, they are not going to be used to predict a relationship that trends in one direction or another. My hope is that in the future that I can study this looking at a more directional relationship, but for this study, these hypotheses are correlational. Hypothesis number 1 says, a relationship exists between the levels of participation in CTE courses and career decision-making self-efficacy scores. Number 2 also states a relationship exists between the levels of participation in CTE courses and leadership self-efficacy scores. The research variables for this study are independent variable CTE participation. This will be measured at 8 different levels as defined by Aliaga in his study of CTE participation levels. And he divides these levels into very small increments from 0 participation all the way up to greater than 3 years of CTE participation. The dependent variable number 1 is career decision-making self-efficacy, and this will be measured by an instrument called the Career Decision Self-Efficacy Scale Inventory. Dependent variable 2 is leadership self-efficacy, and that will be measured by the Leader Efficacy Questionnaire. The methodology will include studying a sample of 12th grade students from a southern urban Title I high school. Title I simply means that 40% or more of the students in this high school have been classified as low income. And part of the reason for this study is convenience. I currently have a relationship with this high school and am able to conduct the study. And also because they are Title I, there is a homogeneity to the high school itself, generally speaking, that will help with the validity of the study. Students will take a paper-pencil copy of the Career Decision Self-Efficacy Scale Inventory short form and the Leader Efficacy Questionnaire. And both of these inventories are short to help with the student fatigue, test fatigue. They will be taken at one sitting as a part of the students' coursework for the day in their CTE course. Demographic data will also be collected, and that will include SES, grade level, age, gender, race, and GPA. Statistical analysis will include ANOVA for each type of the self-efficacy scores, so each group will have ANOVA conducted for it compared to the CTE participation levels. Chi-square of association will also be conducted for participation levels and the demographic data that's collected to look for associations there. This concludes my research proposal on CTE participation rates and 2 types of self-efficacy, career decision-making self-efficacy and leadership self-efficacy. I would welcome your questions in the comment section of the YouTube video and look forward to watching your presentations. Thank you for your time.